Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
What's up, everybody? It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Thursday. And, we got a lot to get to today. We always have a lot to get to. And some great guests coming up in hour number 2. Jamison Welsh from Drive Time Sports. Talk a little NBA Finals. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And also Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports, because it is Thursday. And, of course, we have this story of this guy, Mark Stevens. Have you heard this? This buffoon billionaire. That's what I want to call him. The buffoon billionaire decided to put his hands on an NBA player sitting courtside at the NBA Finals. Oh, yeah, he happens to be a shareholder, part owner of the Golden State Warriors, banned from going to NBA games for a year. We're going to get to all that stuff. Boy, did he cross the line. Let's start with Donald Trump. Why not, folks? Donald Trump, of course, paying solemn tribute to D-Day heroes, and I thought he did a good job in his speech today. But he happened to slam Robert Mueller and Nancy Pelosi while sitting just a few feet away from the graves of those brave men and women who lost their lives in uniform. And what do you think about that? Now, who was doing that interview? Well, none other than the racist herself, Laura Ingraham. Yeah, that's right. The racist. I want to talk a little bit about Nancy Pelosi as well. But before I get to that, keep in mind, this man, Donald Trump, is doing an interview at the gravesite of those brave men and women who lost their lives at war. And Laura Ingraham asked him a question about Robert Mueller, and her question is, does he have a problem if Robert Mueller testifies? And again, keep this in mind, this is on literally right on the grave sites of the men and women who lost their lives. So I want to play this clip for you. This was Donald Trump's response to that question by Laura Ingraham.
He made such a fool out of himself the last time because what people don't report is the letter he had to do to straighten out his testimony, because his testimony was wrong. But Nancy Pelosi, I call her Nervous Nancy. Nancy Pelosi doesn't talk about it. Nancy Pelosi's a disaster, okay? She's a disaster. And let her do what she wants. You know what? I think they're in big trouble.
Okay, regardless of whether they're in big trouble or not, Nancy Pelosi was asked about Donald Trump at that same gravesite. And do you know what her response was? Her response was, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm not talking about politics on this site, out of respect to those men and women who lost their lives. But, Donald Trump doesn't think like that.
And that was a day after that she said that Donald Trump should be in jail, correct?
I was going to talk about that. That was my next subject. I'm going to get to that. But the point I'm trying to make is, the president, or the disgrace in chief, as I like to call him, I could call him some other things too, does he ever just think to himself for 1 minute that maybe you're not in the best place to be bashing politicians? To me, it's just another example of all he cares about is himself. All he thinks about is himself. Doesn't think of his surroundings. Doesn't think about the circumstance, regardless of what Nancy Pelosi has said about him. She certainly didn't say it on a gravesite of those brave men and women who lost their lives. This was a tribute to D-Day. He made a great speech, even though it wasn't his speech. He still, did a good job. He didn't go off script, and he did a good job. And then he ruins it by doing an interview with the racist Laura Ingraham. Now, we can get to Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi made some very interesting remarks. Now, as you know, Pelosi and the Judiciary Chair Nadler, it doesn't seem to me like they're seeing eye to eye when it comes to this impeachment stuff. It appears to me Nadler wants to push forward with this. He wants to start the impeachment process. I don't think Pelosi wants to go that route. Here's what she said, and then we get some reaction and what JD was mentioning. She said, I don't want to see him impeached. I want to see him in prison. Quote, now what does that mean? I mean, should we just go by what she's saying? See, to me, this is what this sounds like. It sounds to me that she's trying to side with her base, but at the same time does not want to go through with the impeachment proceedings for whatever reason that I don't know. But that's what she said, and I find that to be very interesting. First of all, I don't think the president's going to jail even after the presidency.
Right.
I don't think that is going to happen. I don't have his tax returns. I don't have all the information that they have. I still don't think that's going to happen. However, as far as the impeachment proceedings go, we're talking about obstruction. That's how they would, if anything, that's how they would get the president, on obstruction. And when you look at the Mueller report, there are many examples in there where you could say, okay, that could be means for impeachment.
Well, I think what it means is that if he loses in 2020, assume he runs in 2020, that she is going to go out of her way to try to make sure that he gets arrested and thrown in jail.
I don't know. I don't know.
And she's saying, okay, let's not worry about this current term. Let's make sure he doesn't win the next term, and when he doesn't, then we'll go after him.
I mean, you might be right. I don't know. Is she talking about after his political career is over? It appears as though she is.
I believe that she is.
Okay, so if we're talking, so what does that have to do with 2020 then? Because if he wins, she's not going to do anything until after he's out.
Which she'll be what, 79 years old?
Yeah, is that what she's talking about? I don't know. The interesting thing to me is it does not seem to me that the Judiciary Chair Nadler and Nancy Pelosi are on the same page. And Nadler, it doesn't seem like Nadler wants to do something behind her back. I mean, this is the quarterback for the Democratic Party, right? This is the one calling the plays. This is the leader of the Democratic Party right now. And you really have to do what she wants to do for the most part. And I don't think Democrats are going to go behind her back and do otherwise. I want to read this, though, that's interesting, and then I want to get your thoughts on that comment. What do you guys think out there about Nancy Pelosi's comment that she made? I don't want to see him impeached, but I want to see him in prison. What does that mean? What do you take her for her word? Do you think she's actually going to do that, or is she just trying to make her base happy? Give us a buzz. We'll open up the phone line, 702-257-5396. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the program, 257-5396. Do you guys remember when Donald Trump attacked Barack Obama when he was the president for playing golf? This is an unbelievable stat. This is the 868th day of the presidency of Donald Trump. 254 of those days have been at Donald Trump properties, not the White House. 193 of those days of Donald Trump's presidency have been on Donald Trump golf courses. Let that sink in for a second. Again, keep in mind, Trump was the man who went after Barack Obama for playing golf. Do we remember when Donald Trump was campaigning for president? And even before he campaigned for president, he would go after Obama nonstop and he'd say, listen, I'm not going to be on the golf course. I'm going to be getting things done. Let me read that one more time. So for some of you Trump supporters out there, let that sink in for a second. JD, what do you think about this 868th day?
I think he is getting things done simultaneously while being on the golf course.
You think it's fair for him for all that time to go after Barack Obama for playing golf? Let me read this one more time, and then I want your reaction
And he's
to this.
playing his own courses, so is he paying for those rounds?
Of course, security and all that. Of course, taxpayers are paying for that. Absolutely. 868th day as president. 254 of those days. That is more than 25% of his presidency. He's been on some sort of Donald Trump property. Now, who is profiting from that? When Donald Trump goes to one of his properties, who's making money off of that? Who do you think's profiting from that? Yeah, there you go. The Trump family. 193 of those days.
Shame on them for being successful land and property owners. Shame on them.
It's not about them being successful. It's about taking advantage of your presidency and your family profiting from the fact that you are the president of the United States.
Or being somewhere where you're safe and comfortable outside of the White House.
So you don't have a problem with his companies profiting off the fact that he's the president.
I would have a problem with it if the companies were charging 10 times standard rate. Like is going on right now in the military. There's a case where Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just found out that there is a little disc that is being made for $32 that is being sold to the U.S. military for $1,500. If there was major margin deficiencies or discrepancies, I would have an issue with that. But I don't have an issue with him playing golf.
You don't think that's
on
a
his own
conflict?
courses.
You don't think that's a conflict of interest that almost more than 25% of his presidency thus far, he's been on some sort of Trump property. You don't find that to be any conflict of interest. So, for example, during Barack Obama's presidency, if he spent 25% of his presidency on one of his own properties, and his company paid for it. You don't think Republicans would go ape? You know what? They would go nuts. You don't think that's a conflict of interest? He could play golf anywhere. It doesn't have to be one of his own properties. He could stay at any property. It doesn't have to be one of his own properties, but he's choosing his own properties, and his company is profiting off that. You don't think that's a conflict of interest in any way, shape, or form?
You'll find one thing about Republicans. They don't have a problem with capitalism. And if Barack Obama happened to own 15 or 20 golf courses or X amount of property across the country, and he was staying there during his presidency, I'm fairly certain that the Republican Party would not have an issue with it.
I mean, they seem to have an issue with everything else when it came to Barack Obama. Donald Trump went on a tour for 5 years thinking that Obama was, not born in this country. Many Republicans out there certainly had a problem with that. All right, we'll see what you guys think about it. What do you think about Nancy Pelosi's comments as well, saying that she does not want Donald Trump impeached, but she wants him in prison? What do you think about those comments? Do you have a problem with the fact that over 25% of Donald Trump's presidency, he's been on his own properties or on his own golf courses? Do you have a problem with that as well? He's the one who went after Barack Obama for playing golf. Donald Trump's played 3 times more golf than Barack Obama. Does anybody have a problem with that? 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. Let's start with Brady. Brady, what's going on?
Hey, Brady.
Yeah, right on. Donald Trump is like James Bond, only better. He has the economic magic wand that Obama was always striving to have. This guy is rolling. Can you imagine if Hillary Clinton or the Democrats were in power right now?
Okay, well, Hillary Clinton's not in power, number one. Number two, Barack Obama is what got the economy rolling. He's the one that started this. Donald Trump has continued it. You don't give Barack Obama any credit for getting – do you remember the economy that Barack Obama took over? Funny how I don't hear you mention George W. Bush. Do you remember what Barack Obama took over? Do you recall,
Yes,
Brady?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Okay, let's talk about that. It started out the GDP, or the debt at that time was $10 trillion. When Obama left office, it was 20.
And how much debt has Donald Trump put us in since he started the presidency?
$2 trillion.
So it's funny how I don't hear you talk about that, though.
Yeah, but he's created how much wealth in the stock market and brought how many jobs back?
What policies has he put in?
Brought back.
What policies has he put into place that you believe have pushed forward the economy and unemployment numbers down?
What policies?
Yeah.
The steel industry, the coal industry, the manufacturing jobs, the bringing back of all the business here, the tax
aviation. He attacked Dodd-Frank.
You think the tariffs are going well? You think that's a good idea? Because every single Republican disagrees with what he's trying to do with Mexico.
You know what? Somebody had to put their foot down.
So almost every single Republican doesn't want to stand by him.
It does look like Mexico is bringing 6,000 troops to the border of Guatemala right now in response to the 5% tariff, which is a pretty big deal.
Brady, here's my issue, okay? I don't disagree. Unemployment numbers are down. Economy's doing well. I don't know if I'd say rolling. Let's wait another 2 years until his 4 years are up. But so far, so good. I agree. But why is it that you just want to blame Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama for everything? Do you not give Obama – and I'm not an Obama apologist, okay? I'm not. But he took over a complete and utter disaster. Why do you not give him any credit at all? Why can't we be intellectually honest here?
I mean, well, to be honest, when you bring back and you say, why don't I give Obama or Hillary any credit?
I didn't say Hillary. Hillary wasn't the president. You did. You brought up Hillary.
Oh, well, see, thank God she wasn't. But those two are kind of combined because...
No, they're not. Hillary wasn't the president. I'm talking strictly about Barack Obama.
Okay, let's just go to Obama then. Okay. For 2 years now, that boy has not been put on trial or put under oath.
Did you just call him a boy? Did you just call him a boy? Are you a racist, Brady? He's not a boy. He's a man. Then why would you call Barack Obama a boy? That boy.
Because I don't like him. He doesn't like anything that we have.
So because you don't like him, you call him a boy? That's a disgrace. How about your boy, Donald Trump? How about your boy? Let's talk about that.
Well, what do you call him? You call him the orange man in the White House?
I have never, excuse me, when have I said on this, called him the orange man? When have I said that?
I don't know if you
exactly.
said it,
You don't know. Exactly. Excuse me. What do you mean my side? Are you saying that are you making another stupid assumption? You think I'm a Democrat because I don't like?
I'm not sure.
Because
I'm not
I don't.
Sure
exactly. You're not sure. So stop making assumptions. Stop calling Barack Obama a boy. okay, because he's not a boy. Let me tell you something about Barack Obama. You can disagree with his policies. You could think that he was a bad president. I don't have any problem with that. I actually think he hurt race relations in this country. But guess what? I'll tell you one thing Barack Obama would never do. He'd just step on the grave of John McCain. One thing Barack Obama would never do. He would never embarrass this country and side with an evil, murderous dictator in the way that Donald Trump does, okay? So he's not a boy. He grew up with a mom, okay, and a grandmother, and he made something of his life. He didn't grow up with a silver spoon in his mouth. Nobody gave him a $500 million company. He wasn't a trust fund baby. He's not a boy. I'm going to tell you something. I have a lot of respect for Barack Obama. I don't think he was a great president, but that's different. So you want to retract that, Brady? And continue the conversation. He's not a boy. Okay, you want to show a little bit of respect?
How about the former leader that was ruling this country for the last 8 years? I have a problem with him from day one.
That's fine.
Look how he did with the just from when you bring up John McCain and how I talked with you just the other day about John McCain. What a horrible point.
What a horrible point. You think it's a horrible point when the president of the United States, when somebody running for president says, I don't respect him because he was captured? You don't think that's a point that should be brought up? You're okay with that?
I'm saying John McCain's military and his political thing needs to be
That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. Your boy, okay, your president right now, Donald Trump, going after John McCain after he's died, saying that, over and over again how he's not a fan of John McCain, saying that he should have been congratulated for all he did for John McCain's funeral. How about blocking the John McCain name on the ship? You don't have a problem with any of that?
John McCain was.
Do you have a problem with any of that? Yes or no?
He brought the fake dossier right out.
All right, you're an idiot. Goodbye. If you can't admit that was a disgrace, 90% of logical Republicans can admit that was a disgrace. You can't because you're a biased buffoon. 257-5396 is the number to call. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Mike, what's up?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing good. What's up?
I know Obama inheriting a bad economy, yes, too, but I also disagreed with some of the things he did, especially
so did I.
The executive order where he bailed out the banks because the top 20% of all the bankers, Bank of America from Wells Fargo all the way down, got golden parachutes out of that deal.
I don't disagree.
He should have let those banks fail,
Mm-hmm.
let new ones come up. That's their fault, not the taxpayers' fault. And that was a huge mistake.
Well, not only did he bail out the banks, but he also enacted a law that basically made it impossible for banks to loan to anyone who didn't have a ton of cash.
Mike,
which destroyed small businesses.
Yeah, it did. And Mike, listen, like I said, I'm not a Barack Obama apologist, but when people want to attack Barack Obama and they say nothing about Donald Trump, and just like that idiot who just called up and said he seemed to be just fine with going after John McCain. He seems to be just fine, and he brings.
No, that's I gotta agree. I don't like to trample on any person's grave. I don't care if it's Hitler all the way to anybody.
John McCain's a war hero, so I'm not going to bring up Hitler and his name in the same sense because regardless,
anybody that's in history, I mean, you can, he's recently passed away, so it's a little tougher to do, but. I do disagree with trampling on a man's grave, especially when they're just recently dead and they can't defend themselves. But.
Exactly. And why is it that you think there are morons out there, like our last caller, who think it's okay, who defend Donald Trump at no end, call Barack Obama a boy? Obviously, the guy who just called up is a racist, too. You don't call somebody that unless you're a racist.
That's not right.
No.
I thought Barack Obama was a great speaker.
Sure.
And he was a great persuader, and he was very presidential and very formal.
I agree.
And Trump is not that way. But just because they have different personalities and they do things differently, one tweets and one doesn't make
I don't mind it, Mike. I don't mind the tweeting, and I don't mind a different personality. You know what I mind? Attacking people and embarrassing us on a national stage. I mind that.
Well, actually, I just had some French people in my store. They just came in. They're not fans of Macron, so they were saying to me that we were having a conversation. They said, most people in France don't like Macron, but then if that's true, then how come he keeps getting votes? And I said, well, it's the same thing with Trump here. I think a lot of people go out and they say, oh, yeah, buddy, I hate him. I'm not going to vote for him. But then as soon as they go in the booth, nobody watches. Like, oh, shit, yeah, I am. I'm voting for him. And they push the button and they come out, oh, I didn't vote for him.
All right, fair enough, Mike. I understand. I understand what you're saying. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people that I speak to that will vote for him again, and I'm not saying he's not going to win in 2020. I'm just trying to compare the phone call, and I think there's many people, not your call, but the call before, who think it's okay to go after John McCain, who defend Donald Trump to no end, and those are the same people that are going to talk about Hillary Clinton and criticize Barack Obama. It's called credibility, and they have no credibility. The number to call if you want to be a part of the show, 257-5396. Again, that number, 702-257-5396. Again, Nancy Pelosi says that she does not want to impeach the president, but she wants him in prison. I'm trying to figure out exactly what that means. Should we go by exactly what she's saying? I don't know. Again, that number, 257-5396. Let's go to Will. Will, what's up?
Well, Brian,
Hey,
I just can't. Dude, I really think you're turning into Antifa radio, if not drive-by hate radio. I'm just not feeling the love here at all. As a matter of fact, I'm feeling like comments from a traitor.
What have I said? What have I said?
Everything you do is by innuendo.
Okay, so
inference, or
everything
bullying
you
or
do is say things about me, but you don't give a specific. What have I said
Well-
that would make you compare me to a violent physical group? What have I said? Be specific.
Who's a violent physical group?
Antifa can be very violent. And you just
they are
compare.
violent.
Okay, so number one, I've never been arrested before. I've never been. Okay, so
let's
what have I said? Hold on a second. You just said it. So now I'm going to ask you, be specific. What have I said in this segment that would make you compare me to Antifa? Please, I'm all ears.
Well, because first I want to retract the violent part. I don't think that's fair that I would imply that you're personally violent. or
Okay,
hurt
well,
somebody.
you're saying that it's hate radio.
I want that clearly understood.
Okay, thank you. You
But
said
your
hate radio.
Verbiage, your abuse of other people.
What have I said?
That's of conveyance of the way we
Okay, I'm going to
discourse
ask
each
you
other
for the
is just
fifth.
amazing.
I'm going to ask you for the fifth time now. What have I said specifically that you would call me hate radio?
I'd call it. I think it's worse than hate radio. I think you're being funded by the.
I will ask you for the sixth time. I will ask you for the sixth time before I hang up on you. Be specific. What have I said?
Everything you say is.
Be specific. Be specific. Be specific. Be specific.
Brian, you covered out. You laid down 16 issues, and you yell at people.
I've asked you 6 times to be specific. I'm going to answer the question for you. Okay, since you're not capable of answering a question and you accuse somebody of something.
You hate Trump.
Excuse
You're a
me.
hater.
Excuse
You
me.
hate Trump.
Excuse
That's
me.
everything about you is hate.
Excuse me.
It's not hate. You're
Excuse me.
opportunistic.
What have I brought
And
up?
those two-
Okay, are you going to be
those two are
quiet?
anti-American.
Okay, I get it. Are you going to? I'll bring up some stuff for you. Okay. The reason why I criticized Trump today, and if you've been listening, or
Every
maybe
day, not
okay,
today, every day
okay,
you do
okay. Are you going to let me finish? Thank you. The reason why I've criticized Trump, first of all, we've talked about how he went after John McCain, and about 9 out of 10 logical Republicans would agree with me that it is a disgrace the way he's gone after John McCain.
That's a lie.
What do you mean that's a lie? He said it himself.
You conjure up commentaries by inference and innuendo and
Okay,
insinuation. Then
okay.
you build
The
that, then you
quote.
bully
I
them
don't
with your
respect.
column
I
names
don't.
and hang up on them.
I don't respect
why you
John.
do that.
Okay, so defend it then. Defend it. The fact that the USS John McCain ship. This is something that happened last week. The fact that they covered up the name. Defend the fact when Donald Trump said, I respect. I'm not done yet. Respect people that have been captured. I respect people that are captured. John McCain. I don't respect people that have been captured. Defend that. I'm not making that stuff up. That's not a lie. That's what Donald Trump did.
Sure. Okay. So you beg the question. Here's the point. Some of these new.
No. I don't need one of your points. Defend those actions. I want to hear it.
Defend those. We know what those actions are. Those are failures of men that are temporary when you're in the heat of the battle. And for men like you, you're known as a blood.
You can't defend it, can you? You can't defend it, do you? You can't defend it. Okay. You know what, Will? You know what, Will? You can't defend it. You can't defend it, Will. And you are incapable.
You're the one who instigates.
No, you're the one. You're the one that is an imbecile. Is that hate radio? You are an imbecile. Yeah. Why don't you call the police? Why don't you call the police, Will, you wussy? Why don't you call the police? Yeah, because somebody called you an imbecile. Why don't you call the police, you imbecile? Call the police. Somebody on the radio. I get it, you snowflake. I get it, you snowflake. Oh, my God, you called me an idiot. Oh, that's hate radio. Oh, my God. Will, you're such a hateful person. Oh, my God. You're such a hateful person. Pot him down. Just pot him down. Keep him on the line. Keep him on the line, but pot him down. Keep him on the line, but pot him down. God, keep him on the line, but pot him down.
I think I'm just going to go to the bathroom.
Okay,
now.
so here's the problem with somebody like Will. Obviously, he has mental issues. Obviously, he has problems. That's okay. We all have problems. But I give people, I give him a chance. When he starts the conversation, and he starts the conversation by saying, oh, you're hate radio. He compared me to Antifa. So I didn't call him any names. I said, okay, you want to compare me to Antifa? I said, what have I said that would make you compare me to Antifa? I said, what have I said that would compare, you would say I'm hate radio. I asked him 8 times in this conversation. I don't know if he's still on the line. Ken, let's give him an example. Go ahead, pot him up. Will?
Okay, I'm here.
Oh, okay, good. So I'm going to ask you one more time before we go to break, and let's see if you can answer the question, because I've only asked you 8 times. What have I said specifically, besides calling you an imbecile, which I believe you are? You called me an idiot, so we're even. What have I said specifically in this segment that would make you – hold on. Let me finish the question. That would make you compare me to – first of all, say that I'm a hateful person. It's hate radio, and you compare me to Antifa. Be specific, because I'm only going to give you 20 seconds.
Well, geez. Well, when you ask a man like me that kind of thing, words have meaning. It's hard for me to do that because most of your stuff is implied.
So you can't. Okay, all right. Let him go. Let him go. Let him go. Goodbye, Will. Goodbye. I gave him about 10 chances. I gave him 10 chances. 10 chances I gave him.
And then he said that most of your hate radio is actually implied. It's not direct. It's implied.
So he can't come up with one thing.
Okay.
I did call him an imbecile, but then he called me an idiot. So would you call Will a hypocrite? I think that might be a hypocrite. I don't know. I'm not so sure.
This is implied, vicarious, indirect hate radio.
Thanks,
courtesy of Brian Shapiro.
Thank you for continuing to listen to Hate Radio, Will. We appreciate that. So coming up next, speaking of hate, a lot of people are not liking a billionaire named Mark Stevens. You're not going to believe what he did courtside at the NBA Finals yesterday. Wait till you hear how the NBA is reacting to this. It is a problem in our society. It's a problem at games, not just professional games, but youth games and that sorts of thing. You're not going to believe what this guy did. Boy, the NBA is cracking the hammer on this guy, and we're going to talk about it coming up next. Stay tuned for more Hate Radio. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN AM, KDWN AM, KDWN AM.